Hi, I'm Abby.
And I'm Paisley.
Welcome to the No Matter podcast, where our mom and dad will share about our full-time travel adventure. They give awesome tips about the best family vacation destinations, memory-making activities, and how to save while traveling.
They also have really cool guests to answer all your family travel questions. Be sure to follow us at nohomenomatter.com. Thanks for listening.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Mags Nixon. And Mags writes for an adventure family travel blog, The Family Freestylers. She is a mother, a writer, and an avid traveler. And Mags has traveled the globe far and wide, even winning one of the first reality TV shows, Lost. Mags and her two girls and husband are based in the French Alps, and they travel the world, family volunteering in Borneo, climbing 4,000-meter peaks, or having adventures in their backyard. The Family Freestylers hope to inspire other families to find the adventure outdoors and to step outside of their comfort zone. Mags Nixon, welcome to the No Matter podcast.
Hi, Neil. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's get right into the stories here, because you live a lifestyle that, you know, everybody is definitely envious of. You've done so many things, and it seems like you're really living life to the full. I have been on your blog at familyfreestylers.com and read some of the articles there and just being really captured by them. So before we get into that, give us a little bit of your background. Tell us about yourself and your family.
Okay, so we're a family of four. I have two girls aged 8 and 10. And my husband, we're currently based in the French Alps. We've always had a love affair with snow. I met my husband here around 20 years ago. We both did winter seasons for many, many years. He was a professional snowboarder. So both of us have lived very seasonal lives. So even before we had our family, we were big travelers. And then we moved back to the UK, actually, and I had our children over there and ended up staying over there for 10 years. And so it was only then that we decided to get back on our adventures and to bite the bullet and to get back out into the world and find the adventure out there. So it's been a great journey, actually, kind of discovering how to do that and inspiring other families along the way through our blog now.
Well, definitely, the blog is remarkable. I found myself getting caught up this morning just reading about your adventures around Mont Blanc and, just what started as, just skimming a little bit of content ended up, 20, 30 minutes later, just, really kind of being there with you and seeing some of the pictures. It was just remarkable. Tell us, Mags, what was it that really got you started traveling, and why is that important to you with your family as well now?
Well, my passion has always been traveling. Every single job I've ever done had only one purpose, and that was to travel. So I've been a chef on private super yachts, traveling around the world to Tahiti and Alaska. I've been a governess on an outback station in Australia. I've taught School of the Air, and I've taught Swiss bankers English in Sydney. I've worked in Estonia. So all of those things I did pre-kids. And so, traveling has always been my number one passion. And I guess, once you have kids, you believe that perhaps it's not possible now, or you have to travel a different way, or maybe your finances are limited, or you feel just the need to be just more responsible. And so, our travels did stop for some time after having children, and I think that's kind of normal. But I always hankered to go back to the mountains here in Europe. For me, Mont Blanc and Chamonix are literally one of the most magical places I've ever been to. If you've ever visited, driving into the valley and the view of Mont Blanc, it's one of the most special places in the world. So we're big winter people. So we'd always taken our children skiing from the age of 3. So we used to do, longish holidays, 2 to 3 weeks, as much as we could take them out of school. Now, my youngest daughter was born very prematurely. I had her, my waters broke at 28 weeks, and then she was born at 31 weeks. So she actually has a condition called spastic diaplegia, mild cerebral palsy, which means that she has weak legs. It's a chronic neuromuscular condition, which means she has a constant tightness in her legs. So I think that kept us in the UK for much longer than perhaps we would have stayed. We obviously had to have regular physio with her, and we were learning about the condition for, several years and how to manage it. And I guess I thought that would limit us as to our outdoor activities. We've always been an outdoor family, and we didn't know with her growing up how much of a limitation that would be for her. But we put her on skis at the age of 3, just like our older daughter. And to be honest, she was amazing, because she'd already had to learn her balance much more than other children. And it got to the point that when we were coming back from our snow holidays, that her physio started to remark that her condition was remarkably much improved from skiing. And then it got to the point that they said, look, do as much skiing as you can, because it is really helping her. I mean, she's a toe walker. So, of course, in ski boots, her heels are locked down. And I think it was then at the time that we looked at each other and said, okay, we've always talked about going back to the mountains, but now there's a real reason to, because of our daughter. So that was when we decided to plan a family ski season. And we came out Chamonix first off for 5 months, just to see how that would help her kind of long term.
Yeah, well, that's a remarkable discovery, knowing that the skiing actually helps the legs rather than puts extra stress. But I guess it's a very good exercise and movement, which is really what the physio is for as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, physio with kids is very difficult. It's very boring. Until you can turn it into something that's exciting and fun, it's just very repetitive. So finding something that she enjoys that actually is a fantastic workout for her at the same time, I mean, it's fantastic. It's not only stretching her ligaments through, the heel, locking in the heels into the ski boots, but it's balance, and it's also core strength. So it has been remarkable. So that was our first jump into leaving the UK and, a much longer stay apart from holidays for the family.
Mm-hmm. Well, take us back a little bit and talk about the reality show that you've been on. I've got to get that story from you. How did all that come about?
That was pre-children. That was in 2000. I was lucky enough to be picked as a contestant on a Channel 4 reality TV show called Lost. It was around the time of Big Brother, so it went out 3 times a week. And we got put on a Learjet with blacked out windows. It was very exciting. And I look back now, it seems like a complete dream, but we got put on a Learjet with blacked out windows, no money, no phone. The producers had packed our bags, so we didn't know what we had in our bags. And we were flown to an unknown destination in the world. And it was a race against 2 other teams to get home. So on the plane, you didn't even know who you were going to be partnered with. So it was 2 people in a team plus the cameraman. And it was literally no rules, no money, just there you go, plonk you down, off you go. And it was a race back to Trafalgar Square. So whoever won each episode got to get on to the next show. Mm-hmm. So we got dumped in the ice lakes of Quebec and had to make it over to LA to fly home. But of course, they didn't provide the flights either. So it was a fantastic experience. You really have to think on your feet and be resourceful. I won that show. It was very close. I mean, the other 2 teams were on a plane about 6 hours behind us. We sabotaged them in Venice Beach, and the producers thought it was the most brilliant thing in the world. And then the next show we got to go on was we got dropped off in Azerbaijan. So
Wow.
that was a journey. Yeah, we came through Iran, through Turkey. Who knew that Turkey was so big?
Right.
It's a huge country. And then up through Eastern Europe, and we actually had to get to the Angel of the North that time. So, I mean, goodness, I look back on it now and think, what an experience to have, you know? I mean, I relished it. It was just everything and more. It was perfect for my personality. But I think there's something similar at the moment in the UK, but I think they have this new show, they have a lot of, I think they have £1,500, which is the same as an airfare to India or something. I've seen something similar, but yeah, it was fantastic.
And of course, your husband has done some traveling as well. He's a professional snowboarder as well as a DJ.
Yeah, that's right. He's been all over the world snowboarding and DJing. So he went to DJ at Tony Hawk's first skateboard demonstration in Mumbai, which he said was really rewarding because they'd seen nothing like it in India ever before. He's also been to Uzbekistan, and he's been to Pakistan, had tea with the president. He's actually done the highest DJ set in the world in the Himalayas, so he's traveled a lot in his life as well. So yeah.
So traveling has been extremely important to the both of you, and now that you have a family, tell me, what has been the most memorable place or country that you have visited with your family?
Altogether, I would say Sri Lanka holds a very special place in our hearts. The people are so friendly and they love children, and it was a very easy place to travel, but we got so close to the wildlife encounters that we had with the wild elephants and going on safari. That's really high up for us, Sri Lanka. I'd definitely recommend any family wanting an adventurous holiday to head there. I mean, it's safe, but you get the element of adventure as well. The other highlight recently, last summer, I travelled to Borneo with my eldest daughter to take part in a family volunteering program with the Great Projects. And that was probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And it was wonderful to spend some one-on-one time with my eldest daughter, which, let's face it, if you have a family, you know, with more than one child, it is very difficult to spend any one-on-one time with them, quality one-on-one time with them. So that was fantastic. Yeah.
So tell me about this, because, you know, obviously children, they have their education, they generally go to school, but what kind of schooling do you do, and what kind of life lessons do they learn when they're on the road traveling all the time?
Well, actually, we're not homeschooling at the moment, but that is something that we're looking to do in the future, because we're based in Chamonix at the moment. They are actually at French school here. Okay. Which is fantastic because they're learning a new language, and we're going to stay here until they're completely fluent. And our next plan is to go on the road full time. So we're looking at homeschooling and the ways that we would do that. But certainly when we travel for extended periods, for example, when we were in Borneo, you just cannot compare learning something from a textbook in a classroom with 30 other children to being on the ground learning it for yourself. For example, so the family volunteering project that we took part in was in rainforest conservation, and we worked with a local charity called Ape Malaysia, and we were replanting the rainforest basically, and so every morning we'd get up at 5 and we would travel down through the rainforest in a boat. And we would, my daughter and I learned to use machetes to weed. You know, I mean, it's rife, the undergrowth, so we had to weed the little saplings to make sure they had like space and air, and to increase their chances of survival. And then we replanted new saplings, and we learned about the different ecosystems. For example, my daughter learned about, obviously she was learning about the rainforest and how important that is, but not only that, about soil erosion and the fact that, you know, if more of the rainforest is being felled, then there's going to be more soil erosion. And when that goes into the river and goes downstream into the sea, it's going to kill the coral. So she was learning about the rainforest to aid animal movement. She was learning about the coral and just the interconnectivity of the earth and the world and the animals around us. So you just can't compare with learning firsthand like that. And it really makes an impact. Not just for me, but for my 10-year-old, she totally got what she was seeing before her very eyes.
Mm. Yeah, those life lessons, you just, you can't get that from a textbook at all. Just being involved and understanding and seeing what kind of difference that you can make just by actually participating is, you know, certainly a lesson that most children don't have the luxury of having.
Yeah, it is a shame that it's not open to more families and to more children, that those kind of opportunities, because I think, you know, it's the next generation grows up, especially with all the environmental factors. It's the next generation that are going to be the change that this earth needs. And it's certainly the way to educate people is by seeing it firsthand.
Well, Mags, there's so many lessons that you can learn from traveling. What would you say one of the biggest lessons that you have learned?
I think one of the first ones is to not be afraid of people, because, you know, sometimes we live in quite an insular world and we don't like to talk to strangers, and we teach our children not to speak to strangers. But when you're out there traveling, the barriers go down, and it's all about meeting different cultures and experiencing how they live. And so when you're traveling, we talk to a lot of people, we talk to local people, and it's just not being afraid of different people. I think that was one of the things that we've learned from traveling, as well as obviously, you know, how other people live, and poverty, and the lessons that surround traveling that are so important, like those. But yes.
So what other misconceptions do people have about traveling? Obviously, you know, being a little afraid to go out there and talk to different people is one. What are other things that you've experienced?
Well, I think a lot of families or a lot of people think that traveling is too expensive. I think they think it's dangerous, that, you know, they couldn't possibly afford to do it, and that maybe it's unsafe, and it's impossible for them to do. But what I would say is that traveling can be as expensive or affordable as you want to make it, you know. And traveling doesn't always mean, you know, going to far-flung destinations around the world. It can mean literally traveling in your local area. It can mean getting out there and just camping or being outside in nature. It doesn't have to be a huge expensive trip. And there are lots of ways to make traveling much more affordable. You know, for example, accommodation doesn't have to be huge, big hotels. We often stay in, you know, very cheap cabanas on the beach. We don't always have air conditioning. It's very rustic, and you can pick up places like that very cheaply. We often just have a double room, and then our hosts are quite happy to throw a mattress on the floor for the kids, or they often top and tail. There are lots of different ways of doing it. And I think some families think that you need a lot of money to do it, and that puts them off, where they think it's not achievable to save up, however many £1,000 to leave. But I think once you leave, I think leaving is the hardest part. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely. It's all about just getting out there, getting on the roads, and once you are a little bit more familiar with what it is that you're doing, things become easier. I think it's just the unfamiliarity of the unexpected and not knowing maybe what your journey is going to entail. But once you get used to that, things definitely become easier.
I think once you set off, your mindset changes as well. I think there's a lot of stress and pressures when you're about to leave, lots of organisation to do, and financially, you're trying to make enough money to leave. But then once you get on the road, you tend to relax, and you tend to realise actually it's not so scary, and this is really enjoyable, and we want to do this for longer, please. It's you realise how amazing traveling is.
Really, so many great experiences. How many weeks would you say that you travel per year right now?
Not as much as I would like to. We've always travelled for the 6 week summer holiday period, and I think that's a really great way for families to get started. We started by Airbnb-ing our house out in Devon, which was luckily for us located in a very touristy spot by the beach. And so we started to Airbnb our house out for 6 weeks in the summer holidays, and that's paid for some amazing 6 week holidays that we've had. So I think starting like that is a really nice, safe way of being able to travel. So I think at the moment we travel, I don't know, maybe 10 to 12 weeks a year, but it's not enough for me at all. And we are gearing up to, hoping to travel full time.
Well, there's certainly a lot to see, and there just isn't enough time to see it all. But, for these families that, might be looking at your blog, the familyfreestylers.com, and looking at some of the experiences that you've had, what do you think holds them back from doing that themselves?
I think maybe they think that they wouldn't be able to do it as a family. It's too difficult to do it with a family. Maybe again finance, but I think that you really have to just try. I'm reading a great book at the moment, actually. I'll talk about it later. It's called The Chimp Paradox, but it's about putting all of those fears to one side and just going for it. Start small, start a small adventure that's not too scary. It could be for a couple of days. I've been writing a post at the moment about some of the world's best multi-day treks with families with children around the world, and I say there that it might sound scary going into the wilderness and staying in huts and kind of being out of touch, but just start small, find an adventure that you're comfortable with, and build on that. You'll get your confidence. I think starting small and just working your way up is a great way of doing it.
Well, talking about some multi-day tours, I was reading your Tour de Mont Blanc post. Give us a little bit of a background on that. It was, some really remarkable pictures that you shared there too.
Oh, it's unbelievable. One of the most epic multi-day classic treks in the world, actually. It's the Tour de Mont Blanc is a trek that goes through 3 different countries. It goes through France, Italy and Switzerland, and goes round Mont Blanc, which is of course the highest mountain in Western Europe. And you stay in remote mountain huts at high altitude. It's a grueling trek. It's 170 kilometers, and it normally takes about 11 days. So I only did half of it this summer with my older daughter, and we're going to complete the rest of the half this summer, actually. But I talk about how to cut it into manageable chunks and taking public transport for a lot of kind of the boring parts. But I mean, it was absolutely incredible. In fact, the elevation gain on the entire trek is actually 1 kilometer higher than climbing Everest. I mean, it's a tough one, but it's worth it. And if your family is into hiking, you know, it's definitely one to put on your bucket list.
Yeah, well, I definitely am. You know, growing up in Aviemore myself, we did a lot of hiking on the mountains of Scotland, but you know, I dare say the Alps are a little bit higher and more strenuous than that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place, Scotland. Really is one of our favourite destinations.
Well, tell me about the fitness level for something like that, because, you know, obviously it's quite strenuous, but you took your 10-year-old daughter and she was able to handle that as well.
Yeah, I took my 10-year-old and my 65-year-old mother as well. So wow. It was really nice, 3 generations. It was lovely to spend that time with them, actually. Yes, I mean, you have to have a relative level of fitness, and we trained by doing a number of long hikes, always with a backpack, a 10-kilometer backpack, kilogram backpack on our backs. I mean, nothing can really prepare you for it because it's day after day of long distance hiking. So even the fittest person is going to feel exhausted after doing it. But yeah, I mean, it is doable. It's doable for anybody, you know, with a relative level of fitness. And as long as you're going to put in the time to do some long hikes before you go and a couple of multi-day hikes before you go, then I think it's doable for anyone. The good thing about it is that it's a very well trodden route. So should you run into any trouble, there's a lot of people hiking, and also there are refuges nearly every 5 kilometers. So you know, it's as long as the weather is kind, then it's a relatively good route to walk.
Well, I'm sure it was a remarkable experience, and I bet you're looking forward to doing the other half. Are you doing that this summer?
Yeah, we're doing that this summer. So on our last summer, we hiked from Chamonix, which is in France, around to Courmayeur in Italy. And this summer we'll be starting from Courmayeur and coming all the way around through Switzerland and back to Chamonix. So that will take us 5 or 6 days to do that. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing the pictures from that adventure. But what's your future plans, Mags? Do you have any destinations that you have planned to go in the future?
We do. We're really excited this year. Actually, we're going to go on our first sailing trip as a family. I got my sailing qualification, my day skipper, for my 40th birthday, actually 5 years ago, and my husband got his ticket last summer. So we are now able to charter a yacht by ourselves. So this summer we're gonna hopefully go to Greece and do a trip with the 2 girls. So I'm looking forward to that. And we are looking at going to the Shetlands for the first time, the Shetland Islands. Have you been there?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so furthest point north in the UK. So we're hoping to go up there and explore up there. And we're also looking at going back to Borneo if we can. So yeah, that's really exciting. And perhaps we travelled to Sabah last year, which was there are 2 Malaysian states of Borneo, Sabah and Sarawak. So we'd like to travel and see some of Sarawak as well, and look at some more of the wildlife. I mean, the wildlife over there is just incredible. The orangutans and the pygmy elephants, and it's one of only 2 places on Earth where 10 primates live together, and the biodiversity is absolutely incredible. I mean, not very far from where we were staying on the Kinabatangan River was the National Geographic Lodge. So Yeah, it was an incredible place. So I'd love to go back there.
Yeah. And is that another volunteerism project where you're going to go in and try and help and make a little bit of difference while you're there?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm still planning that trip. So I would really like to, and I'd really like to do another family volunteering trip this year. So that's something I'm working on. Whether or not it'll be in Borneo, I don't know. But it was so rewarding, and it was a truly different way to travel, because it was the first one that we'd ever done, and I'd always wanted to do one. But I didn't realise the impact it would have on us, and I would love to do one a year if we could. And I think it's really inspirational for families to be able to do something like that together, and to bring them. It really brings families together and strengthens bonds just by learning something together and being out in the field and helping. And you really come away with a sense of achievement and a sense of, you've actually achieved something together and made a difference.
Yeah, very, very important lessons, not only for the children, but for adults as well.
Completely. Mm-hmm. Not just for the kids. Yeah.
So what in your travels has really pushed you most outside of your comfort zone?
Let me see. I think pushing me out my comfort zone. I'm
sure being dropped off in a Learjet in the middle of nowhere it's got to be up there.
But it was different then. When you're a solo traveller, I seem to have no fear back then. So I think it's probably, travelling off with my children. I think I was apprehensive going to Borneo with my daughter. I hadn't travelled solo for some time. And, so that was... I had moments of apprehension then, but of course, whenever you kind of actually hit the ground in the destination that you're going to, you always, it all comes together, and all of those fear and anxiety that you had seem to melt away. I think diving with my 10-year-old learnt to dive in Borneo. That was a bit nerve-wracking for me, kind of letting go and letting her just take that and own that. That was a bit nerve-wracking, but yeah.
Well, obviously there's a lot of content on your website. Part of your journey is to inspire other people to take action and get out there and see the world. And I'm sure you got lots of tips and resources on your website. If people want to visit that or just connect with you in general, what's the best way for them to do that, Mags?
They can either get hold of me via the blog. My email address is mags@thefamilyfreestylers.com, or Instagram. We are the Family Freestylers on Instagram. And, you can send me a direct message. Always love to hear from people. We've had a lot of families contacting us about their children that have cerebral palsy, actually, and we actually got to meet a family that came out to ski with their daughter that had cerebral palsy this winter. So I always love hearing from readers that have got questions and that have just said that we've inspired them. It's really rewarding to know that we're making a difference and showing other people that you can go out and have an adventure. It doesn't have to be all bells ringing and what have you, but just get out there and get into nature and get off screens.
That's right. I mean, that's a big thing, isn't it? We're so connected to these devices all the time that, sometimes we really need to lift our head up and see what else is out there in the world. It is a shame to see so many people connected to these devices all the time and not enjoying the world out there. Mags, if there's a final message that you would like to leave to the listeners, what might that be?
I think it's just that there's a huge world out there and we only have one life. And I'm sure as you don't want to live on your deathbed with regrets. And I think there's no better time than now to do what you want to do to make your dreams come true. And if you think that it's not possible, think again, because you can do anything you want to do, and it's just a question of splitting it into manageable chunks, and to have a plan, and to believe that you can do it.
Yeah, we certainly weren't made to work, pay bills, and die, but that's, how so many people live their lives, unfortunately.
I know.
Well, you did mention a book earlier. Would you like to talk about that, or maybe share with us your favorite book and why you like that?
Yeah, I've got 2 books, actually. One of my all-time favorite books is Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. And that is just a epic tale set in Bombay in India. And I just love it because it's just so evocative of India. And I love it because it's almost never ending. It's so big that it's such a page turner. Have you read it? It's just a fantastic read.
No, I haven't heard that one. But
No. That's a brilliant read. My other one is The Chimp Paradox, which is by Professor Steve Peters. And it's about mind management. And this is the one I've been reading at the moment, which is, it's about dispelling all the negativity in your mind, the little voices that sit on your shoulder and say that you're not good enough or you can't do it. And it's really helpful for dispelling all of that negativity. On the back it says, "Do you sabotage your own happiness and success?" And it's a model that actually helps you to understand and manage your emotions and thoughts. And I think it's really important to be a positive person and to believe in yourself and believe that you can. And I'm trying to convey that to my 2 girls as well. I think it's one of the most important things in life. So I can really recommend this book.
Definitely, in general life, and of course traveling too, you certainly have to be positive when things go wrong, because sometimes things can go wrong when you're traveling.
Yeah, most definitely. It's about how you deal with it, isn't it? How flexible you are in your mind to be able to deal with change. Yeah.
Well, Mags Nixon, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. I look forward to continuing seeing all the pictures of you on your journey at the familyfreestylers.com blog. And of course, the listeners out there, make sure you connect with Mags and her family on social media as well. Mags, thank you very much for being my guest on the No Matter podcast.
Thank you so much, Neil. Thanks for having me.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Thanks for listening to the No Matter podcast.
For more shows and resources, visit us at nohomenomatter.com and make sure to follow and subscribe.